We often think aging brings loneliness, that the later stages of life are meant to be filled with silence and isolation. But what if I told you that living alone isn't just unavoidable? It can actually be a source of deep joy. Stoic philosophy doesn't urge us to chase after crowds or gather shallow relationships to fill the void inside us. Instead, it points us inward, showing us the strength found in solitude and the beauty of meaningful, lasting connections. Growing older doesn't signal the end of friendship. It's a chance to recognize which relationships truly hold value in our lives. What I'm about to share isn't abstract theory or feel-good talk. It's wisdom born from personal experience and deep reflection. Stick with me to the end, because somewhere in these words, you may discover the key to unlocking real peace and lasting happiness in your own life. Let's begin with letting go of the need for social recognition. In our younger years, we often obsess over how others see us. We crave approval, admiration, and status in our social groups. But do we still need that as we grow older? Or is there a point when we realize that recognition is just an illusion? A subtle chain tying us to others' expectations instead of tuning into our own. Marcus Aurelius once said, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." Isn't that a paradox? We claim to love ourselves most, yet we let our worth be shaped by the fleeting opinions of others. The truth is, recognition is like the wind, here one moment, gone the next. Endlessly chasing approval wears us down and distances us from our own inner compass. But letting go of that chase doesn't mean choosing loneliness. On the contrary, it opens the door to true freedom. Picture a quiet morning. You're sipping tea by the window, listening to the soft songs of birds. A deep calm fills you. You're no longer concerned with whether people will remember you or if someone will give you credit. For the first time, you're really living. This kind of freedom isn't just about stepping away from what others expect. It's about discovering joy in life's smallest, quietest moments. So how do we stop craving recognition? How do we silence the voice that constantly wonders what others think? Start by asking, whose approval do I actually care about? Is it society with its shifting standards? Or is it me, the person who lives with my choices every day? Epictetus offers us a challenge. If you want to improve, be content with being thought foolish and stupid. If we truly want to grow, we have to accept being misunderstood, even laughed at. But that's okay, because once we stop seeking validation from the outside world, we finally have the freedom to focus on what truly matters, living a life that aligns with our own values. Look at the wise elders around you. They're no longer burdened by the weight of others' opinions. They don't seek applause or recognition. Instead, they live simply, fulfilled by a quiet joy. They read, paint, and stroll through the park without expecting praise. And that is true freedom. An old friend once told me that when he was young, he was terrified by the thought that one day people would look down on him, that he'd be forgotten. But now, he says, the real tragedy isn't being forgotten. It's living your entire life just to make others happy. Those words stayed with me for a long time. Are we really living for ourselves? Or are we just playing a part in someone else's story? If we want to live contentedly in old age, alone, but not lonely, it begins with letting go of the need for recognition. Instead of chasing approval, we should turn inward. Instead of fearing that we won't be remembered, we should focus on making each day meaningful for ourselves, because in the end, happiness doesn't come from admiration. It comes from the quiet peace of a soul that knows its own worth, without needing to be seen. With age, our priorities shift. It's not just the body that changes, our values do too. It's not a loss, it's a purification, a chance to strip away illusion and finally live with honesty. Have you ever thought about the people who once seemed like they'd be in your life forever, and then one day they're just gone, not because of betrayal or failure, but simply because that's how life works? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Imagine you are dead. You have lived your life. Now, take what's left and live it properly." We don't have time to waste on shallow relationships or meaningless chatter. Now is the time to focus on what brings real peace. Eventually, we begin to see the true worth of a quiet morning, a warm cup of tea, and a good book. These are far more valuable than 100 empty social events. The noise of the world begins to fade, and in that silence, we can finally hear what's inside us. We no longer need to prove anything to anyone. We no longer need to maintain relationships just to avoid feeling alone. Instead, we find joy in the simplest of things: a walk in nature on a sunny afternoon, an open heart that knows how to accept itself. Take a moment and reflect. Where is your time really going? Are you clinging to relationships that have already faded simply because you're afraid of emptiness? Are you investing your energy into things that no longer matter? If so, maybe it's time to let go, not out of selfishness or coldness, but out of respect. Respect for what truly deserves a place in the time we have left. In truth, many people feel empty in old age, not because they miss others, but because they never learned how to enjoy their own company. Try sitting in silence for a while. Listen to your thoughts. Watch the world without rushing or judgment. You may discover you're not really alone. You just haven't yet become your own friend. Allow yourself to welcome change. Do the things you've always put off. Write in a journal, paint, learn an instrument, or just sit in stillness and feel your own presence. Don't let anyone tell you that happiness only comes from being around others. Seneca once wrote, "If you live in harmony with nature, you will never be poor. If you live by the opinions of others, you will never be rich." The shift in priorities that comes with age isn't a decline. It's a chance to live more honestly, more deeply. And when you stop chasing the outdated standards of society, a new kind of freedom opens up. One that leads to a joy not borrowed from others, but one that rises from within you. True freedom begins when we stop feeling bound by the expectations of others. But this freedom only becomes complete when we are strong enough to stand on our own without needing to rely on anyone else. Strength doesn't come from how many people surround us. It comes from our ability to be independent, self-reliant, and at peace with who we are. So how do we develop that inner strength? Let's continue this journey together. The strength found in self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency in later life isn't a sad story of loneliness. It's actually a rare gift, one that not everyone understands. Many people spend their time constantly seeking company, clinging to connections that will eventually fade away. But those who recognize the value of independence see something different. They see a path to inner power, to true freedom. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." To be truly free, we must first learn to master ourselves, to find fulfillment not through others, but within. Now, don't mistake independence for isolation or reject in relationships. It simply means we can remain steady even when no one is around. Picture this: a calm morning. You wake up to no missed calls, no messages. You make a warm cup of tea, open the window, and feel the sun pouring into the room. Do you feel emptiness, or can you smile knowing each day is a fresh chance to connect with yourself? Self-sufficiency teaches us to stop searching for happiness in other people and start creating it through life's quiet, everyday joys. This kind of inner strength takes time and practice. Independence isn't about cutting ties. It's about building a life you love, whether or not anyone else is part of it. A retired person might begin an art project. A woman might finally learn to play piano. An older man might grow a garden in his backyard. When we have something to care about and enjoy, we no longer need others to fill the hours. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, very little is needed for a happy life. It is all within you, in your way of thinking. True satisfaction isn't found in the number of friends we have, but in the way we see life. If we view a day without visitors as lonely, we'll feel alone. But if we see it as a moment of peace, a chance to read, to walk through the park and enjoy each step, we will never feel empty. Self-sufficiency doesn't mean we never need anyone. It means we don't feel incomplete when we're on our own. And once we learn to enjoy our own company, our relationships become more authentic. Not because we need someone to fill a void, but because we have something full to share. Ask yourself, if I were completely alone today, how would I give this day meaning? If you don't yet know the answer, maybe now is the time to start searching for it. Not in others, but within yourself. If this message spoke to you, if it helped you see self-sufficiency in a more positive light, leave a like to let me know it reached you. And if you want to keep discovering simple but powerful ways to enjoy life alone with joy and meaning, subscribe. The path to inner peace and strength begins with small steps. I'd be honored to take them with you. Solitude is not an end, it's a transformation. At some point in life, we come face to face with a deep truth. Friends drift away, family ties shift. The world keeps turning, with or without us. Loneliness can creep in like a cold wind. But if we look closer, we'll see it's also an invitation. A chance to grow, to rediscover ourselves, and to find a freedom we may never have truly known. Seneca once said, "A person is as unhappy as they believe themselves to be." If we view loneliness as a curse, it becomes a heavy burden. But if we accept it as a path inward, a chance to build wisdom and inner strength, it transforms into a powerful source of peace. People fear being alone because they don't know how to fill that space. Yet a wise person is never truly alone because they are always in the company of themselves. Take Marcus Aurelius. He ruled an empire, yet spent hours in solitude, reflecting even during war and political unrest. Epictetus, once a slave with a crippled leg, found total freedom in his own mind. Seneca, advisor to Emperor Nero, turned away from political power to embrace the serenity of philosophy. These thinkers understood something vital. Solitude isn't a punishment. It's a doorway to deep self-knowledge. So how can we turn solitude from an enemy into a guide? First, we learn to enjoy our time alone instead of fearing it. The modern world bombards us with noise, endless screens, shallow chatter, fleeting connections. But when we sit quietly, we realize it's not so scary after all. Read a book that stirs something inside you. Write down your thoughts. Or simply sit on your porch and watch the sunset. These small moments open vast inner landscapes. Second, invest your time in learning and growth. It's never too late to begin something new. I once heard about a man who picked up the violin at 75, and by 80, he could play Bach with joy. A woman started painting at 70 and eventually exhibited her work in a local gallery. They didn't let solitude become stagnation. Instead, they used it as fuel for personal growth. Third, we need to shift our perspective. There's no need to hold on to the past, relationships that have faded, or circumstances beyond our control. Ask yourself, if today were my last day, would I want to spend it in regret and loneliness, or would I embrace it completely? Epictetus reminds us that true wealth is not about having much, but about wanting little. When we stop chasing what lies beyond our reach, we often realize we already have enough. Solitude isn't something to flee, it's something to welcome. When we sit still, we begin to hear our own thoughts clearly. We find joy in the smallest details, and we realize we are never truly alone. Inside us lies an entire universe, and in that universe, we are our own best companion. When we learn to enjoy our own presence, loneliness fades. When we stop seeing solitude as the enemy and begin to treat it like a friend, a deeper truth comes into focus, that the present moment, this simple, quiet now, can be a source of joy, fulfillment, and peace. No crowds, no distractions, just us and this moment, a world complete within itself. Maybe this idea sounds unusual, maybe it's hard to imagine, but ask yourself, what really makes us feel lonely? Is it truly the absence of others? Or is it something missing within ourselves? Marcus Aurelius said, "People seek retreats in the countryside, by the sea, in the mountains, but you have the power to retreat into yourself anytime you wish." Why do we run from solitude when within it we can find true peace? Maybe you've always believed happiness only exists when shared with others, but in truth, happiness can rise from a deep and honest connection with yourself. So ask yourself this: if I don't enjoy my own company, how can I expect anyone else to? How can we expect someone else to enjoy our presence if we haven't learned to enjoy it ourselves? Learning to appreciate your own company doesn't mean shutting yourself off from the world. It means building a strong relationship with yourself, so that when you are alone, you don't feel empty. Start by treating yourself like you would a close friend. Keep a journal. Check in with your emotions. Ask yourself, how am I feeling today? Then give yourself small, meaningful experiences. A warm cup of tea, your favorite music, a quiet walk. And don't shy away from trying new things on your own. Visit a new cafe, take an interesting class, or start a small, positive habit. When we develop a genuine connection with ourselves, we stop seeing loneliness as something frightening and begin to experience it as a joyful kind of freedom. Self-sufficiency isn't isolation. It's being able to enjoy your own company without feeling like something or someone is missing. When we feel full from within, we stop looking for people to fill a gap. Instead, we look to share joy. So the next time loneliness creeps in, resist the urge to immediately reach out to someone just to fill the silence. Instead, pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, can I be the friend to myself that I've always needed? If the answer is yes, even for a moment, then you've learned one of life's most profound truths, the art of enjoying your own presence without feeling alone. And with that, congratulations. You've reached the halfway point of this journey. How do you feel about what we've explored so far? If you have questions, thoughts, or your own experiences, I'd love to hear them in the comments. And don't forget, each part of this video is just one piece of a bigger picture. Stick around until the end, where I'll share practical tools and strategies to fully embrace the freedom and joy of being yourself. Deep connections over wide circles. More friends doesn't always mean more happiness. Have you ever felt completely alone in a crowd, surrounded by shallow conversations that leave you feeling cold? At some point, we realize that what we truly need isn't a large social circle, but a few deep, meaningful relationships. True friendships are worth far more than 100 surface-level connections. Seneca once said that socializing can be enriching, but the goal is not to run from emptiness by clinging to meaningless relationships. Instead, we should choose people who bring real value to our lives. When we're young, we chase excitement. We gather people around us simply to avoid feeling alone. But as we grow older, we discover that happiness doesn't lie in the length of our contact list. It lies in the presence of someone who truly understands us. Someone who listens without judgment. Someone who stands by us when we need it most. Ask yourself, who is truly there for me when I'm struggling? Who listens without criticizing? Who brings peace to my life just by being there? If you have even one such person in your life, consider it a true gift. Friendship isn't about how often we see someone, it's about how present we are when it truly matters. The greatest value in our relationships isn't found in numbers, but in the depth and sincerity we share with those who matter most. So how can we build these deeper connections? First, let's commit time to the right people. Don't waste energy maintaining relationships that exist only to fill space. Real friendship doesn't demand daily contact, but it does require being there truly and fully when it counts. Second, let's learn to truly listen. So often, we only wait for our chance to speak. But real friendship is about mutual listening, about understanding. Sometimes we don't need advice, we just need someone to genuinely hear us. Eye contact, presence, empathy. Third, sincerity is everything. We shouldn't just search for trustworthy friends. We must also be that kind of friend. If we want genuine connection, we have to offer it. And we must be willing to let go of relationships that no longer have meaning in our lives. Some people will pass through our story like a gentle breeze, and that's okay. What matters is the essence, the ones who truly belong. Happiness doesn't come from how many people we know, but whether those people truly understand us. In the end, when all the noise fades, it's the honest, loving moments that remain, the ones we share with people who see and accept us as we are. One deep friendship can be life's greatest treasure. Can old friendships be lost? Of course. But is that always a tragedy? Not necessarily. Sometimes it simply means life is moving forward. As we grow older, we need to find new ways to connect. Some relationships may fade away, but that doesn't mean loneliness is our destiny. Happiness isn't rooted in what we once had. It comes from how open we are to new experiences, to creating fresh bonds that reflect who we are now. So how can we build meaningful connections in later life and truly find joy in them? We'll explore that in the next part, creating new ways to connect in old age. Yes, old relationships may not always last, But that doesn't mean we can't build new ones, intentional, authentic, and aligned with who we've become. This stage of life isn't a time to retreat. It's a time to build relationships that truly matter to the person you are today. Think of the small but meaningful connections. A heartwarming conversation with a kind stranger in the park, a spark of friendship in a yoga class, or a lasting bond formed in an online book club. You no longer need to keep up with fast-paced social circles or try to belong to some group for the sake of fitting in. Now, you can choose relationships that enrich your life on your own terms. Shared interests don't require you to be great at anything. It's not about skill. It's about finding a space where you can connect with like-minded people. But don't wait for others to come to you. If you're feeling lonely, take the first step. Become a volunteer. Offer mentorship to a younger generation, or simply start by exchanging a few words with the people you encounter each day. Seneca once said, "No one is destroyed by misfortune unless they've first been seduced by false prosperity." Don't let past losses break you. Let them fuel your desire to give, to reconnect, and to live fully, just in a new way. Maybe you're thinking, "I'm too old to start over," but look at those who don't let age define them. They keep learning, they keep growing, and they keep forming new bonds, regardless of what the calendar says. They don't live in the past. They live right here, in the now. A new friend doesn't have to be your age. A meaningful connection can form with anyone. A younger neighbor, a kind waiter at your local cafe, or even someone across the globe you've never met in person. If you ever feel like you're no longer important to anyone, make yourself important. Create something, join a community, offer guidance, be someone's mentor, or simply be there for someone who needs support. When you give a piece of yourself openly and sincerely, real connections will naturally start to flow back to you. Still, there will be days when you feel unseen or forgotten. But instead of sinking into that feeling, ask yourself, what can I do today to reconnect with the world? It might be as simple as writing a letter to an old friend, posting something uplifting online, or adopting a pet, one that meets you at the door each morning with unconditional love. Aging is not the end, it's a new beginning. Friendship doesn't fade with time, it evolves. It becomes deeper, truer, more meaningful. So, are you ready to reach out and form new bonds today? If you're ready to embrace relationships that matter and make the most of the life ahead, let me know in the comments. Write, "I embrace new bonds," as a way to affirm that you're committed to growing, connecting, and living with intention. Why family and community matter now more than ever. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "We are made for each other." And it's true. We exist to be in connection, to give and receive, to be part of something larger than ourselves. You don't need an extensive network. Sometimes one honest conversation is enough, one soul-deep connection. So ask yourself, what excites me? What do I truly enjoy? That's where connection begins. Maybe it's an old passion, a skill you've long wanted to return to, or something you've never given yourself permission to try. If you've always loved painting, sign up for that art class. If you're looking to improve your health, join a gentle group exercise class. If writing brings you joy, start a blog or join discussions with others who share that spark. Learning to share, to grow with others, this becomes more vital than ever in old age. It's in these later years that family and community become our anchors, keeping us from drifting into unnecessary isolation. Picture a winter morning. You wake in a quiet house. The ticking clock marks the start of a new day, but no one is waiting in the living room. No phone rings, no warm cup of tea is shared with another. Independence is something to be proud of, but if we let isolation take over, it can still feel heavy. The Stoics show us that we don't need to be surrounded by crowds, but real, meaningful connections are still essential. I once met a man who had lived alone for 20 years after his wife passed away. He was proud of his independence, until one day he fell and lay on the floor for hours before someone found him. That moment changed everything. He realized his independence had become a mask for loneliness. He began participating in group activities. He met others in the same situation. And he discovered that happiness isn't about appearing strong. It's about having people we can connect with, accept help from, and give help to. Family and community aren't just there for our weaker moments. They're also spaces where we can contribute, give, and find purpose. If you ever feel like you no longer matter to anyone, ask yourself, who could benefit from what I've lived through? Who needs a story, a bit of advice, or just someone to truly listen? Young people can teach us about the modern world, and in return, we can share what only time can teach: patience, wisdom, compassion. A practical tip? Be active. If you have children or grandchildren, give them a call, even if it's just for a few minutes. If they live far away, find a local community, read books with others, meditate in a group, attend local events, or simply visit a nearby cafe where someone might smile and say hello. Not every relationship needs to be deep. Sometimes a simple hello is enough. Seneca once wrote, "No one can live happily who lives only for themselves. You must also live for others if you want to live for yourself." To live fully, we must also give fully. Enjoying solitude doesn't mean cutting off our bonds. It means appreciating the silence while still holding on to the connections that make us human. When old age comes, don't fear it. Welcome it as a chance to nurture the most important relationships of your life and to pass on your wisdom. Think about the people who left their mark on you. A grandfather whose stories carried quiet truths. A teacher whose advice shaped how you see the world. A neighbor whose kind words stayed with you long after they were gone. They weren't famous, but they changed you. And you can do the same. Legacy doesn't need to be grand. It can be a few handwritten notes, a letter to your children, a habit others witness daily and silently admire. One person may write a book, another may simply share memories, another passes on wisdom through quiet, ordinary conversation. It doesn't matter if the world knows your name. What matters is that you lived, learned, and now have something worth passing on. And yes, you might wonder, does anyone even care what I have to say? The answer is yes. Maybe not the whole world, but even if it reaches one heart, that's enough. A mother teaching her daughter life lessons, an elderly man showing a young boy how to tend a garden, a woman sharing with a younger girl how to remain calm in chaos. That's a message worth sharing. So start small, keep a journal, record your thoughts, speak to someone. You don't only pass on your message through words, but through how you live every day. You don't have to change the whole world. All you need to do is reach one heart, because in the end, life isn't about what we keep. It's about what we leave behind. The clothes will fade, the house will be inherited. But the advice, the lessons, the wisdom, those live on forever. So don't let old age become a time of waiting. Let it be the most beautiful chapter of your life. the one where you give the most valuable gift you have, everything you've learned. You are never truly alone if you have something to pass on. We've now explored 9 powerful insights from Stoic philosophy, each showing how to find joy in solitude and rediscover the true meaning of friendship in later life. These lessons remind us, loneliness isn't the enemy. It's a doorway to reconnecting with yourself and with those who truly matter. Aging doesn't mean we must become isolated. On the contrary, it's a time to nourish, deepen, and protect the relationships that bring real meaning. When you learn to enjoy silence, you'll realize that happiness isn't measured by the number of friends, but by the depth of understanding you share with just a few. If this video helped you, even in a small way, please leave a like. If you made it all the way to the end, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Even if you're not sure what to write, simply type "happy alone," "happy in solitude." That way, I'll know you stayed with me right to the finish. And don't forget, share this video with someone you care about so they too can find peace, clarity, and hope in their own journey. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. There's much more heartfelt, meaningful content waiting for you. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.